Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB. Gabrielle D. Phillips is out today. She's not feeling good, but it's okay. Broder's joining us at 8:30, so we'll get some Lions discussions going. He's down in Allen Park, but joining us in the booth, as always, Lucas Klotz, the man, the myth, the legend. We got a lot to get to today. Guys, it's joint practice. Woo! It starts. You get to go up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we got plenty of things to discuss regarding that. Like I said, Matt Broder's down at Allen Park. He's going to be joining us at 8:30. So we'll get into all the juicy stuff with him as well. But plenty of Lions to get to today. I want to talk about the rookies in the second hour. We're going to get to that at 9 o'clock. Jack Campbell and Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, those guys. And I want to tell you about their Defensive Rookie of the Year odds, because it seems like they keep climbing. And you see this now with the first preseason game over with. Also at 9:30, rookie quarterbacks confirmed starting. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson confirmed starting. We're going to get into that. Who will have the best rookie year?
By the way, Jeff, have we cooled the air?
Okay.
Me and Jeff got heated yesterday for probably 25 minutes.
Well, and here's the thing for people who are tuning in. And again, appreciate everyone for tuning in. I see in the chat Mike G, Philip C, Eduardo, Shane D, D-Map, again, Matthew Sexton, Kyle Ramos. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And for people who think we just do this and get off and we're just normal and back to, no sports, no, we argue all the time. And me and Lucas, we have our disagreements. I love him to death, but we do. I mean, C.J. Stroud is a big one. And we were talking about Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud yesterday and what interception was worse, which I agree. C.J. Stroud's was worse, but I didn't like how Lucas was nitpicking a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when we're talking about C.J. Stroud, I'm not going to have the best tone with it, but it took us a while. It took us a while to kind of get to the point of what we were saying, but we finally got to an agreement. Just took a lot of yelling and me, okay, to get to that moment.
I know Lucas is done with my ass when he just goes, okay.
Yeah, it's
okay. I'm telling you, okay. I'm basically, that's Lucas's I'm done. We're done. We're done arguing. We're done.
Yeah, I'm just over it.
But we're gonna bring that back up at 9:30, so I can't wait. Maybe we'll get into it again. But before we start all that, my guy Sam Flannel, how you doing this morning?
I am good. I'm wondering now if I'm gonna be able to just take the 9:30 segment off and let you guys just go at it. But I have my pause. I have my own opinions though on that matter, and I cannot wait to share that one. And I personally am very, very excited about today's show prep, because there are a lot of topics that I think I did quite a deep dive on. One in particular that I cannot wait to get to, and I cannot wait to hear all of the thoughts of the chat, or see the thoughts of the chat and my fellow comrades in the studio, Lucas, JB, and Jeff. Yes, comrades.
We're in the Soviet Union now.
You know what?
Again.
But yes, it's a good, very, very exciting day. They're practicing with the Jaguars. I mean, how perfect can you be? Yeah. Two teams that are just right there in terms of situations. They had the exact same record last year. The Jacksonville Jaguars were just fortunate enough to play in one of the worst divisions in football, either that or the NFC South, of course, and they were fortunate enough to get a division win and a playoff win. So seeing how they stack up at practice, seeing what Matt Broder reports as the days go on, and Gabrielle D. Phillips, I am just so stoked, man.
And here we go. Super Juggernaut 87. Gabby said some sicknesses going around Allen Park, and now she's not well. Yeah, there's the confirmation on that. She was correct there. Coach Walk 37. Appreciate you guys, all of you, for joining the show. He says, "Are you going to talk about Cade Cunningham?" We'll get into more of that. I know right now we're in the midst of Lions, and don't worry. As the NBA, if the Tigers were interesting, we'd be talking about them, but football's king right now. So we're going to focus on the Lions. But for Cade Cunningham, he is dominating Rico Hines runs and out there tearing up USA basketball. So don't worry. We'll get into that sooner or later. Just not specifically today because it is joint practice. So we got to cover that. Lucian says, let's have a great day, everybody. Shout out to you, Lucian. PX Shaman says, say it, Flannel. which we're going to get that eventually. We got you, PX. Chuck Brewer says,
Say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest. Chuck Brewer says, how about when dating Jeff? Does she have to be a sports fan? My girlfriend is not a sports fan, and that's okay. I love that because I don't have to go home and debate CJ Stroud with her. Like, I can just, like, I love that. You know, she has other interests, and, you know, it kind of, you know, the sports thing is that for here with the boys. You know, when I go home, I don't want to bring home CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. I'd rather just focus on my day. But yeah, I wanted to bring this up before we get into anything because if you guys haven't seen this already, this was on Woodward Sports, all social medias. The Aiden Hutchinson and Panay clip, do you have that?
Oh, yeah.
Play this. I love this.
Come on, hey, let's go. Hey, come on. Let's take it over, bro. Let's go low. Let's take it over. Let's go low. It's easy. Come on, hey, let's go. Hey, come on. Let's take it over, bro. Let's go low. Let's take it over. Let's go low. It's easy.
Those two right there,
that's the foundation right there.
That's the foundation. What has Brad and Dan preached since they've been here is building from the trenches, being a team that has that type of defensive line, that type of offensive line. And they had, you know, pieces of an offensive line already, but now you understand this offensive line is one of the better, if not the top 2 offensive line in the league. And then you got Aiden, right? And those two guys, Sam Flannel, that's the foundation of this entire thing. A franchise defensive end in Aiden and a franchise right tackle, maybe left tackle in the future in Panay Sewell right there.
Not to be cliche or anything, but isn't that the perfect example of iron sharpens iron? Is there anything more perfect for a young team to have than a franchise tackle and a franchise defensive end? Obviously a franchise quarterback, but I'm talking about in terms of iron sharpening iron. The question I have to ask is how many All-Pros and Pro Bowls are in that duo in the future? I mean, that's just oozing maybe a couple of future Hall of Famers. I'm not calling for it quite yet, but damn, the way that they are just like they go at it with each other in practice, I'm sure that happens, and I've been hearing reports of it. And of course, looking at them saying we're going to take this over, and you know what? They are going to take the NFC North over, and those two are going to be one of the biggest reasons that they do it. Those were the very first top 10 picks that Brad Holmes ever had, and so far they're coming out smelling like roses, and so that's very, very nice to see. They might be the best 2 overall players on the team right now. I would actually probably argue it.
Yeah, no, I would. I mean, it's crazy to think for at least the most important positions in football, right? Quarterback. Then you get to edge rusher, offensive tackle, we'll just say wide receiver. The Lions check like all those boxes right now. I mean, you have a good enough quarterback in Jared Goff. You have a franchise defensive end in Aiden. You have a franchise tackle in Panay. You have a franchise wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. The most important positions in football, the Lions have franchise players, essentially.
I mean, you talk about Aiden Hutchinson's entering his 2nd year. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Panay Sewell entering their 3rd year. So all these core pieces are going to be around for a while, and that's what I like even more because you talk about the teams that do have a key left tackle and a key defensive end. Usually it's like you look in 49ers, they got Trent Williams, who's old, and they got Nick Bosa, who's they drafted after. It's rare that you have these guys kind of growing together as one. And like you said, iron sharpens iron, Flannel. And when it's these two, I mean, we already knew that they had high ceilings, both of them. But then when you add both of them in the mix, we talk about how, like, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, what his effect could be with Kirby Joseph. With these two, I think it's even more so. I mean, obviously, they're not both on the defensive side of the ball, but they're competing every day.
They really are. And that kind of I want to tease the question we're going to ask. And I know even Sam Flannel came up to me before the show and was like, this is a good one. And this is at 8:45, so stick around for that. What situation would you rather have? The Detroit Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars? Yeah, we're going there.
It's a tough question. That's a toughie.
I know it is. And this is, I know Lions fans are like, Detroit, obviously, but trust me, we're going to get into this conversation at 8:45, and I want to hear the people, and I want honesty. I know the Kool-Aid is pumping through our veins, right? And we saw Sam Flannel drink the Kool-Aid earlier this week. But regardless, we're going to have that conversation at 8:45, so I cannot wait for that. But JB, we haven't gotten to JB yet, man. How you doing, JB, this morning?
Oh, I'm good, man. How's everybody else doing? I know it's a early morning, but still.
Did you see the clip of Panay and Hutchinson going at it?
I did. I liked it. It was pretty cool seeing them just together, just knowing that this brotherhood that they have on this team is just getting stronger. The bond is just growing, and it shows out there on the field. So it's nice to see this.
And for JB, those two are they're going to take this team all the way to the NFC Championship game. JB's got money on it.
Oh, yeah,
they're
he believes it. He believes it.
Like I said, I got money on it. I have faith in this team. They can only take themselves as far as they can go. And from what I've seen, It's to the championship, baby.
Oh.
It is to the Super Bowl.
And peep JB's shirt today, too.
Oh.
DMAC 313.
That is a sweet shirt. And that's on WoodwardSports.com, correct?
Yes, it is. Definitely go and check that out. We have a ton of new stuff up there.
Yeah, no, honestly, we're not even trying to like gas it up right now. The merch on there's some cool stuff, and then there's some funny merch on there, and it's really not that expensive. So make sure you guys go check it out before the season, like, because there's not going to be that many people. If you're going to the games at Ford Field, there's not going to be that many people with that merch on. So definitely go check it out.
Yeah, and you want to be different. You want to be unique. So go to WoodwardSportsShop.com, get you some Lions merch. Show up to Ford Field.
Yep.
And be fresh.
I mean,
simply put.
I know, JB. We gotta get JB on like an infomercial, dude. Like, we need him out there on the commercial for all these
like the big boy read.
Yeah, we do. And by the way, JB believes, at least with those two players, Panay, Aiden, the rest of this roster, they can make it to an NFC Championship game. Maybe he took a trip to Dispo. Maybe he didn't. But I'm going to tell you about our friends over at Dispo, because you can experience the true meaning of exceptional cannabis products with Dispo Dispensary. Indulge in the finest selection of cannabis curated with care with over 12 locations. Again, they just opened up one in Whitmore Lake. If you're nearby, go check out that location. Visit disposhops.com today and unlock a world of endless possibilities in the realm of cannabis. That is disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
For Detroit, by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network. You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper. Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Mark White.
Hey, when buying or selling real estate, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no penalty? That is exactly what Mark White and Associates offers. It's called the Minute-by-Minute Listing Agreement by Mark White and Associates. Try Mark White's risk-free minute-to-minute listing agreement today. Looking to buy or sell real estate? Visit markwhitesells.com or call 248-290-8242. Again, that is 248-290-8242. MarkWhiteSells.com, where flexibility meets success.
We're off and running. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, 816. Plenty more to get to. If you haven't already, like the stream on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you can't watch us live, you can always re-listen to the podcast, Morning Woodward Show, on anywhere you get your podcast. Leave a 5-star review for JB and his DMAC 313 shirt. I mean, that's one of a kind. And you can get it at WoodwardSports.com, which has merchandise, articles, like our good friend Matt Broder writes. He'll be joining us in about 14 minutes to discuss the joint practice, Jacksonville, Detroit. I cannot wait to get into it with him. I'm excited. And I love joint practices, but it seems like now, the Lions defeated the first boss in the Giants. Now we're moving up.
And
we're going after the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville's going to come up here motivated because they remember what happened last year when they came up to Detroit and they got embarrassed on TV. So they're going to come motivated, and they got a man named Calvin Ridley this time. So I'm really, really excited. And that's what I want to ask Broder about. How that's going to look, who's going to be defending him. But Lions, especially the secondary, is going to be tested this week, so I'm excited.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I think the DBs are the biggest thing to be paying attention to. I mean, you talked about Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. I mean,
even Evan Ingram.
I was just going to say, I can't believe I'm saying it, but Evan Ingram. Yep. Like a guy who was labeled the drop machine, and now he's in Jacksonville producing. Like, they got a squad.
It'll be really I'm really interested to see how Jack does against Evan Ingram. Because, I mean, I'm sure he's not going to be on him all the time. I'm sure there'll be some times where they'll have CJ GJ on him just because of how athletic Ingram is. But, I mean, watching Campbell Friday, he was flying around the field. I don't really have any doubt that he can't keep up with them. Just, I think it comes down to the hips, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, no question. And Bob Johnson, without the 1v1s for most of the game, there's so much to take from this. Mike G says Jags have more playmakers for sure. Sappy Johnson, I'll be at the game. Can't wait. Have fun at the game. That'll be a great game to go to.
Good one.
Another one. Hopefully it's just as packed as last week. I mean, that environment was, damn near a playoff atmosphere. 50K showing up to preseason is ridiculous. Like, and if you didn't watch Schrager's his broadcast where he had Schrager and friends, he had a bunch of people on. They even said, like, this is probably the loudest arena currently in the NFL in preseason.
Ooh,
like, there's no other fan base that's as fired up. Now, Stoke not scared. I mean,
I don't know how many fan bases are as excited for this preseason as the Lions.
No, they're stoked.
I mean, it's a preseason, but to Detroit feels like a little bit more than a preseason.
This is everything.
This is everything.
Yeah, this is everything.
Something to me.
No, and I'll remember the what was that 2008 when they went 4-0 and then 0-16. But regardless, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. It's good. Listen, they beat the Giants. We'll see this Saturday at 1:00 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But something came out. And I wanted to talk about it because we did discuss the defensive line previously, but now there's data. Do you have the graphic?
Yeah.
Okay, because this is insane too. And this was tweeted out, and I want to read this out. Make sure it was Al Karsten that he tweeted this out too. NFL preseason week 1 edge quarterback pressure leaders. Guys, look at this for a second. Chicago, Trevis Gibson 8. Which is good for Chicago. They don't have any pieces on there.
They
don't have any pieces.
finally got a defensive lineman that showed up for a game.
But look at tied for second, Romeo Okwara. Will McDonald, your guy. And you shouted him out yesterday. But look at tied for 4th, Julian Okwara. Tied for 4th, James Houston the 4th. Like, there's 3 Detroit players, a part of this defensive line on this list for the most pressures in week 1. Now,
and a lot of them were playing on the field at the same time together.
That's true. Romeo and Julian played about majority of the game, I'm pretty sure, which, again, that speaks volumes. And maybe it's also part of matchups. The New York Giants having a god-awful, at least offensive line, the second stringers. Andrew Thomas wasn't out there, clearly. But still, Sam Flannel, I want to ask you this. Are we sleeping on this defensive line? Because we talk about the potential. There's nobody proven yet besides Aiden. I think he's the most proven. A lot of guys need to come show it again or show more. What do you think?
All right, so this is something that I actually am learning a bit from Neil Rule. Let's work backwards on this one because this is when you really work backwards. I think this will really make clear how good this defensive line could be. You already know when I drank the Kool-Aid what I called for Aiden Hutchinson to have this year. 15 sacks. That's a hell of a good start for having a great defensive line. I mean, what's a better start to that than an edge rusher that has 15 sacks? Maybe a Chris Jones, Quinnen Williams, or Aaron Donald. But still, the point is that if you have Aiden Hutchinson with 15 sacks, we were talking yesterday about John Kaminsky. He obviously was one of the unsung heroes of the team last year, and we're talking about him possibly being better. Lucas, you brought it up. I kind of seconded it and said that it wouldn't shock me at all. Imagine if that happens. I've also been calling for repeatedly a breakout season for Aleem McNeil.
Right.
I mean, I don't think any of those things happening is crazy. You also have James Houston, who's coming off of a season in which he had 8 sacks in 7 games. I don't think he's going to have that kind of production on a per game basis this year because nobody does, but I was calling for somewhere between 7 and 11. I think all of those things that I just mentioned are fair and somewhat reasonable, at least. I know 15 sacks is a bit of a stretch, but still, it's Aiden freaking Hutchinson. And then you look at, and I know it's preseason, but it's not really just preseason. You look at the numbers that the Okwara brothers put up in these preseason games. You have to remember, Romeo Okwara, he had that terrible Achilles injury and then basically that botched surgery in which he had to go through a big portion of his rehab all over again. He only played a few games last year, and even with Romeo Okwara not really being, he wasn't 100%, certainly not mentally at least. He still managed to have a 2-sack game. And remember, this man, Romeo Okwara, at one point had a 10-sack season in the NFL. They don't just give those away at Walmart. You can't just buy them over the counter.
You don't get a Costco card for it.
I mean, think about it. Ask Jadeveon Clowney, ask Chase Young. Neither one of those guys have 10-sack seasons. It's very, very hard to get one in the NFL. And Romeo Okwara has one. And I think he's somebody that is going to come back this year, the healthiest he's been certainly since the injury, and I think he can be a key contributor. And then you look at his brother Julian. I think we would all agree, as much as we like and respect Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, I'd say, is the more physically talented and gifted brother. He's just never been able to stay on the field, and he's obviously not as experienced and not as technically sound and doesn't have nearly the production. But what if he can put it together this year? What if he's healthy? What if he's not expected to do as much? I could see him having an impact in some games. I mean, I know I could go on and on and on, but that's my point. Charles Harris. I don't know how much we're expecting from him this year, but another one in a season led the Lions in sacks in 2021 with 7.5. That is nothing to sneeze at, certainly. You drafted Broderick Martin, who's been getting some rave reviews in camps.
Big boy.
You re-signed Isaiah Buggs, who was I would say, a very, very solid rotational piece last year. Josh Pascal, he had a little bit of a lost season, but he still played in quite a few games. He has a 2-sack game in the NFL. So when you really put all of that together, when you think about it, do the Detroit Lions, dare I say, at least in terms of depth, have an embarrassment of riches?
That's what
I would agree. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple different angles to go off of this. One, I would say, based on this defensive line, because that was the biggest thing in the offseason, and I'll even admit to this, right? In the draft, I wanted Jalen Carter, but now you look back. What?
What these do you guys
these comments?
These guys are bogus, man.
Okay, I'll try to keep this show on the rails.
Keep it moving.
Talk about this defensive line real quick. Okay, you could talk about the young guys, right? Houston, who is only going to get better. Aiden, who's only going to get better. Aleem McNeil, your guy, who I think is also going to have a breakout season. He's only going to get better. But there's more to this, right? The upgraded secondary, that's going to help this defensive line. Because last year, having Jeff Okudah as your number one corner, you didn't have a lot of time. Now you have a Brian Branch, a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph getting older. So this secondary, I think, will benefit this defensive line. The other angle of it is, you look at the depth, which I'm glad you brought up. The depth this defensive line has, my gosh. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep all these guys, but I'll tell you what, they got to figure out a way to do it. Like, like you go through it. Julian, Romeo, John Kaminsky, Aleem McNeil, Buggs, like you all listed. Who are you getting rid of? I want to keep most of these dudes. Levi Onwuzurike looked great.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Like, think about this for a second. The Lions last year, the Lions last year had 39 sacks in 17 games. 39 sacks, which put them, at least front half of the NFL, but basically around about the middle of the pack, right? The Miami Dolphins were right in front of them. The Buffalo Bills were right in front of them. They only had 40, so they had one more. The Lions had 39. So they were a decent team getting after the quarterback. And then you have the cream of the crop, right? You have the Philadelphia Eagles with 70 sacks, Kansas City with 55, Dallas with 54, the Patriots with 54 with the help of Judon, his breakout season. I think the Lions can go from 39 sacks and they can increase that number to 40-ish sacks, if not almost damn near 50 sacks, because they have the potential, right? If Aiden had 9.5 last year, and let's just say he gets 15, Houston gets another 8, because I know people say he could have a breakout, but let's just say safely he gets 8 or 9. And then you have a Julian who gets a couple. Romeo, now he's playing an entire season. He gets a couple. The secondary improving is going to give these guys more time. John Kaminsky is always going to add his couple sacks. Aleem McNeil is going to get his couple sacks. You got Levi Onwuzurike now, who's going to be in the flesh. And I think now that they have so much depth, Sam Flannel, they're going to be able to rotate guys and keep fresh defensive linemen on the field at all times, which I think is going to terrorize other quarterbacks. So I think they can definitely increase their sack total, but the question is by how much? And I think they can hit 50 this year, at least. That's 11 more. I don't think that's impossible to do.
I mean, I think that 50 this year, at least, should be the benchmark. Because if you want to be a good team, which I think they will be, if you want to win the division, if you want to win a playoff game, you have to get after the quarterback at a greater level than they did last year. And I understand Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston, especially for rookies, had phenomenal seasons. But I definitely expect Aiden Hutchinson to pump those numbers up. Obviously, you expect Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, Charles Harris, Josh Pascal, and John Kaminsky, even when he played for part of the year, was basically playing with a club on his hand. You expect them to all be more healthy. You expect them to all play more games. I know it's a bit of a presumption, but still, in terms of like depth edge rusher pieces last year, the Lions had a lot of bad injury luck. I think that is very, very fair. I think that is one of the reasons which allowed James Houston to emerge. So maybe that was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I know I've read some comments in here that are very, very positive, and I know I always read this, guys, but Chuck Brewer, he mentioned something about them being a little bit unproven. I would argue, and I understand what you're saying to some extent, but Aiden Hutchinson, I would say he had a Rookie of the Year caliber season. It's just, it happened to coincide with Sauce Gardner's even better year. Right. James Houston, I've even said, I've been guilty of this by saying, even though he had 8 sacks in 7 games, there is like a a little bit of me that feels that he's still a little bit unproven when he gets more snaps, but still, 8 sacks in 7 games is nothing to sneeze at. Romeo Okwara, I get he has to come off of injury, but he's at a 10-sack season in the NFL. And we've even seen Aleem McNeil have a very small stretches of being dominant, i.e. the New York Giants game. We're not asking all of them to be dominant. We're not asking all of them to be stars. We're just asking most of them, with the exception of maybe Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, maybe an Aleem McNeil or John Kaminsky, but I don't even know about them, to play their role and make impact plays. Lucas, I would like you to piggyback on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we talked about. We talked about Teddy Bridgewater in terms of Jared Goff goes down. If Aiden Hutchinson goes down, that's a huge loss as well. And the fact that we have this much depth that already has the chemistry that's been here, if Aiden Hutchinson or James Houston or any of these defensive linemen go down, that'll be essential for this team. They're able to fill in the role perfectly, and what Flannel just said is the key of it all. They all know their roles. They all know what they're good at. They all know what they're bad at. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. And when you can compile that, yeah, maybe Romeo Okwara cannot add up to what Aiden Hutchinson does. But when you have Romeo Okwara and Julian Okwara on the field, and you just combine their production, then maybe they can get something close to what Hutch would have for you that game. So I think how the Lions are setting up right now on the defensive side of the ball, they obviously know, yeah, we don't have the top-tier talent. But if we can get top-tier depth, that'll definitely kind of not even it out completely, but definitely close the margin.
And they got to hey, listen, I'm a big fan of John Scott Jr., their defensive line coach. He was at Penn State for 2 years when who came out? Micah Parsons. So they got a good defensive line coach. And on top of that, you look at last year, the whole conversation, Aiden, the only player doubled at least in the same ballpark as Myles Garrett. Good luck doubling him. Like that's why this what makes this defensive line so much more dangerous is like good luck doubling. That's why when you face a team like the Eagles or the 49ers and you're trying to double one guy, someone else is getting free. And that's going to be a similar conversation with this Detroit Lions defensive line. So it's going to be great. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. When we get back, we'll discuss some Lions football with Matt Broder. I can't wait. He'll break down some things for us here in a couple of minutes. But before we do that, Sam Flannel, could you tell everybody where they can get a haircut? The best haircut.
Hey, absolutely. And I think I got the best haircut this weekend, but that is up to your guys' interpretation. But I will always cape up for these wonderful stylists here because I've been to pretty much all of them there. I don't even request one, and they all do such a great job, or at least a satisfactory job to me and my wife for that matter, because that is the only opinion that matters after all. And how would you like to win not one but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Hey, this is Mr. Kearney, Chief Academic Officer at Academy of Warren. I want to welcome you to the brand new field house. The state-of-the-art facility has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field. It can be used for 7-on-7 football. Our K-8 academic features AM, PM, latchkey, small classroom sizes, Learning Street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, Holton Mifflin curriculum, academic games, K-8 athletics, and more. Enroll today at academywarren.net.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zuniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Play, practice, and party at 5 Iron Golf, located inside of the Cambria Hotel. Downtown's newest sports bar has 13 TrackMan simulators, certified instructors, and a full bar and restaurant. Mention promo code Woodward at checkout for 50% off your first visit, and visit 5irongolf.com to tee up good times. Woodward Sports Network is also participating in a Thursday night golf league on the simulators with fans. This league is hosted by 5 Iron Golf and co-presented by Mark White and Associates and Long Drink Alcoholic Beverages. And you can join us tomorrow as all shows, Morning Woodward Show through Heavyweights, will be broadcasting live from 5 Iron Golf. Ooh. I know that Lucas and Jeff got a chance to experience it. They came back with rave reviews. I can't wait to experience it myself with the boys, of course. And you guys can join us too and go to 5irongolf.com.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to today's show this morning, for choosing us. You could have been anywhere else, but you're with the Morning Woodward Show crew. Don't forget, hit the like button on the YouTube stream. Subscribe if you haven't already. A lot of lines to get to. Matt Broder, he's ready for us?
Oh, yeah. Broder's
all right, send him through.
Baby.
My guy.
Let's make sure. Let's get this all set up. Broder,
right.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Broder! Look at
Let's go!
Look at him!
Let's go! Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Broder. How you doing out there, man? How you feeling this morning? Are you excited? What's your thoughts?
I'm doing very well. I'm super excited to be down here. We got the Jaguars coming to town. You know, Lions and Jaguars are on a similar trajectory. We got the AFC South champs here. Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, and squad are here to practice all week and end the week with the preseason game at Ford Field.
Broder, I want to start off and get right into it. Just in your opinion, what are some matchups you're excited to see? Because Lucas brought up a great point earlier, the wide receivers taking on the Lions DBs and in the experience it provides. Because unlike the Giants, they don't really have, besides Darren Waller, that true number one wide receiver. But now the Jaguars, for example, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, they got dudes. What are your thoughts on the matchups? What things are you looking to see today?
Yeah, that's a lot of firepower. That's definitely the secondary, this new look Lions secondary, and that Jaguars wide receiver core, and even include Evan Ingram, tight end Evan Ingram, who's basically a wide receiver playing tight end. That's a great matchup to watch. I also like looking at on the offensive end, we've got Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker going against Trayvon Walker, and Josh Allen, the two great edges for the Jaguars. That'll be a good one to watch. Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson are going to forever be linked together. So we'll see what that's like today, going against guys like Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell.
Yes, and I think that linking will bode very positively for Aiden Hutchinson, but that is just my personal opinion and what I saw on the field last year. But anywho, I got another question, which I think is something that is on a lot of Lions fans' minds. How do you think this Lions defense will also respond to going up against a guy like Trevor Lawrence? They just went up against Daniel Jones, and I think Trevor Lawrence is obviously a clear upgrade. And even his backfield mate, Travis Etienne, former Clemson teammates who are shining and thriving in the NFL. How big of a challenge do you think that will be for this Lions defense?
That's a very good point, Flannel. Trevor Lawrence is one of the up-and-coming quarterbacks. I think it's going to rely on that Lions defensive line and linebacker core to get pressure on Trevor Lawrence, make his job as difficult as possible. The Jawan Taylor, the former right tackle for the Jaguars, he's moved on to the Chiefs, and they've replaced him with Anton Harrison, their first-round pick out of Oklahoma. So we're going to see Aiden Hutchinson go up one-on-one against Anton Harrison. Now on the other end, we got Walker Little for the Jaguars going against Charles Harris, James Houston, the Okwara brothers. How are we going to get that pressure, both from the outside, and then we've seen the improved defensive tackle position, getting that pressure up the middle. We'll see how Lee McNeil, how Levi Onwuzurike, how that core group of guys is going to be able to affect Trevor Lawrence and his ability to get the ball to those weapons on the outside.
And Broder, we kind of already touched on the receivers and Evan Ingram for that part, but when it relates to Jack Campbell, we can even throw CJ GJ. Who do you expect to see covering Travis Etienne coming out of the backfield for the Jaguars? Just because, like we said, we already talked about Evan Ingram being a receiving threat, but Travis Etienne, I mean, that man could easily be like a Jahmyr Gibbs comparison. So as far as the roles in the offense, what do you expect to see personnel-wise from the Lions as far as defending Travis Etienne?
You're 100% right, and he's back and healthy for a full season, we're expecting, maybe for the first time since he played with Trevor Lawrence back in Clemson. So I think we're definitely going to see a lot of Jack Campbell, but also Brian Branch and or CJ Gardner-Johnson, Will Harris, the guys in that nickel position trying to cover Travis Etienne out of that backfield. That's a job Brian Branch, it seems like he's built for. So I'm looking forward to see him cover Etienne a lot today.
And Broder, at least for the rookies or just players in general, who's one guy, or if you have more, that needs to show up today? What's one guy that I think needs a bounce-back practice, or maybe a rookie you're keying in on today to have a big day against the Jaguars? Who needs it the most?
Yeah, I'll give you two. I think Jameson Williams, obviously all eyes are going to be on JMO. He's going to be spending a lot of time going against Jaguars cornerback Tyson Campbell, who may not be a household name yet, but he's a stud, and he's
be
got
one day,
lockdown
brother.
cornerback potential. Exactly. Lucas, he's got that lockdown potential, so I'm looking forward to seeing him out there, seeing those two battle. And then on the other side, I'm looking at Antoine Green, which fits into that the wide receiver depth, who's going to get that last spot. We saw Coda play well in the preseason. We've seen Antoine Green show flashes. Denzel Mims is expected to be back, although we don't know how much this flu bug or this bug, we don't know yet who's going to be out today. But I'm looking at Antoine Green. He's been quiet these last few days, these last few weeks. So I want to see him have a big day.
Yes, and speaking of people who I think need to have a big day, do you anticipate in these joint practices? I know the Jaguars, they have a couple of good linebackers, a pretty good safety in Rayshon Jacobs. How do you think this week of practices will bode for a Sam Laporta, who out of the top two, out of the first and second round draft picks, was the one who kind of, I would say, disappointed a little bit in the preseason game? Do you think he bounces back in this joint practice?
It's something we're hoping to see, but like you said, that linebacker core, the middle of the field for the Jaguars is tough. We've got Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma as your.
Oh, hold on.
No!
Do we lose him? Hold on. Let's try this again.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, we're good now. Sorry, brother. Just repeat.
You can hear me.
Yep.
No problem. I'll repeat. I was going to say we're definitely looking for Laporta to have a bounce back, but like you said, Flannel, he's got his work cut out with the middle of the field on defense for the Jaguars. We've got inside linebackers Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma kind of patrolling the inside of that field. And then Foye Oluokwan, who's led the league in tackles the last 2 seasons. So I think there's going to be a lot of action over the middle. We're going to see not only what Sam Laporta can do in the middle of the field, but David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, how they're catching the ball or how they're getting to that second or third level of the defense once they hit that kind of beastly linebacker crew.
Matt, I just want to say, you got something, Lucas?
Yeah, I got one more question, brother. So
fire it away.
With New York coming in last week, they obviously had Brian Dable, and now you're bringing in Doug Peterson, but more specifically, the quarterback play outside of Trevor Lawrence. And when we saw Rourke with that crazy throw against the Cowboys on, I want to say it was Saturday, do you think that this defense overall is going to be more tested against the Jaguars compared to we know what the Giants bring with Saquon and Dable's play calling, but overall, do you think this is going to be a much bigger test for the Lions defense?
So I think because you have a far superior quarterback in Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball for the Jaguars, but he's not immobile. Trevor Lawrence can move, and even their backup, and I always mispronounce his name, CJ Beathard. He's got a little wiggle too. So the Lions have struggled. We saw it with Tyrod Taylor and last year in several games. We saw them struggle with mobile quarterbacks, and we've got Lamar Jackson coming to town. Justin Fields, we play 2 games. Even Jordan Love has some wiggle of his own. There's a handful of games where we're going to need to contain a mobile quarterback. So that combined with just Trevor Lawrence as a far superior quarterback throwing the ball, this will be a good test. It's Dan Campbell versus Brian Dable. It should be a fun week of practice.
We're joined by Woodward Sports Detroit Lions beat reporter Matt Broder. Thank you, Broder, for you do great work, man. And before you leave, can you tell people where they could find your articles at?
100%. Honestly, if you head to woodwardsports.com, that's probably the best place to find my stuff and everything Woodward Sports is doing. Go to Twitter. I'm MattBro21 on Twitter, but go to our Woodward Sports Twitter to find everything you need for us. So I hope you guys have a great day. We'll be checking in a little bit later, but I really appreciate you having me.
You're the man, Broder. Go hold it down. Make us proud, baby, with that mustache. You're a legend. And there you have it. Matt Broder, beat reporter for the Detroit Lions for Woodward Sports at Allen Park for the joint practice against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, he does great work. I love Broder, man. He'll be out there if you're at training camp today. Go say hi to him. He's very friendly, man. He'll talk to anybody. So shout out to Broder for that. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. When we get back, we'll get into more of the joint practice discussions. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White & Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, showing support to the show. Like the video. We're almost at 100 likes, baby. We can get it by the end of the segment.
We can get it.
Don't forget, hit that like button, support the boys. Plenty more to get to. And this is the question, right? It's 8:45. I teased it at the beginning of the show. What situation would you rather be right now? The Detroit Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars? And I know for Lions fans, it's like, what? What are you talking about? And I'll tell you why. And this was first proposed, at least on Twitter, by Colton Pouncey, and he does great work for The Athletic, and he put out just a thread of this. Who would you rather be, the Detroit Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars? You can go check that out again, Colton Pouncey on Twitter. But I thought, why not? Let's have this discussion. Because I think it's close. And this is two teams that had similar records last year. The Lions obviously beat down the Jacksonville Jaguars, but you can't look at it from one game and say, well, I'll just take the Lions. There's a lot of layers to this, Sam, right? You look at the Lions as a complete roster with all the young talent they have and what they found through Brad Holmes. There's a lot of guys you like, right? A lot of young players, defensively, offensively. But then you look at the Jags, and at least from a quarterback perspective, they have the better, at least up-and-coming quarterback. We don't know how good Trevor Lawrence can be. He's still very young, but the future's bright. There's no doubt about that. And then Doug Peterson, he won a Super Bowl. So say what you want. The Jacksonville Jaguars aren't some slouch, but I posed the question, and I'll ask you first, Sam Flannel. Who would you rather be right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Detroit Lions?
All right, so before I go, when I kind of sat down to do my prep for this segment, there are a lot of layers to this. First of all, let me give you where I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have the clear advantage. I think it matters that last year they won their division and won a home playoff game. I get them winning their division was kind of the luck of where they were placed, but still they had the experience of doing it, and the Lions do not have that yet. And Trevor Lawrence, of course, not only Trevor Lawrence, he's on a rookie contract for at least a couple of more years. And I think his ceiling is to be the second best quarterback in the NFL when it's all said and done after Patrick Mahomes. And I also think who they have in Travis Etienne, who is also on a rookie contract. This guy might be one of the most productive running backs in the entirety of the NFL this year. And obviously the wide receiver core and tight end room, especially with the addition of Calvin Ridley. If he can give you anything like he did his last year in Atlanta, oh my goodness.
And they already had a solid receiving core.
Absolutely they did, because Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, that cannot be ignored. And you already mentioned Doug Peterson, who right now I think is a coaching advantage over Dan Campbell. He should have a statue up in Philadelphia already as the one Super Bowl winning coach in Philadelphia Eagles history. And you saw what he did with this offense last year, unlocking the potential of Trevor Lawrence, along with having more personnel around him like Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Travis Etienne. But still, Doug Peterson is kind of like their version of Ben Johnson, except he's the head coach and overseer of everything. But that being said, there is one reason why I would actually go with the Detroit Lions right now.
So you're picking the Lions?
I am picking the Detroit Lions, and here is why. Because of one man, Brad freaking Holmes. Because I actually wrote a little bit of a list. When you look at their draft classes year by year, you look at 2021 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That draft class is elite in terms of high-end talent. You've got Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and Tyson Campbell were their first three picks. Dear God in heaven. But still, the Lions, they have Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Amon-Ra St. Brown being one of the better value picks of any draft in the last 5 years or so. And even Aleem McNeil, I'm not going to put him on that level just just yet, but still, you got Penny Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. But where they really separate themselves, where in terms of young talent, cheap talent right now, is that 2022 draft. You look at the first overall pick versus the second overall pick. You got Trayvon Walker at 1. The Jaguars gave a gift by gifting us Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's the better player right now. I don't think anyone would disagree with it. And then, of course, the Jags 2022 draft. I think Devin Lloyd, we can all agree thus far, is a hit. But when you look a little bit deeper, their third-round pick, Luke Fortner, he's their starting center, but he wasn't really anything special last year.
He ain't no Frank Ragnow.
And I'll tell you what, look at our third-round pick in Kirby Joseph, who forced 6 turnovers. They had Chad Muma also in the third round. Again, a solid backup last year, but only 47 tackles. You look at their fifth-round pick, Snoop Connor. 12 carries, 42 yards last year. I'm not writing home about Snoop Connor. And then you got Gregory Jr., that's his actual name, played 1 game last year. He was a 6th-round pick. And then you look at Monteric Brown, who last year had 6 tackles total. So when you look at those diamond in the rough peeps, the Jacksonville Jaguars thus far have not had them. You look at the 2022 draft for the Detroit Lions. I already mentioned Aiden Hutchinson. He's a future superstar. I think he's already trending that way. I mentioned Kirby Joseph, a 3rd-round pick for 6 turnovers. I mentioned the 6th-round pick parlay of James Houston, 8 sacks in 7 games. Malcolm Rodriguez, all rookie linebacker. And then you even look at Jamison Williams, who we think will emerge this year when he gets back from suspension, and Josh Pascal, who he himself had a little bit of a lost rookie season. Although he played more games, he had a 2-sack game and showed some flashes. So I think that 2022 draft class is really what's going to be one of the ones that turn it around and help shape the future. But I'm not even done yet. We look at the 2023 draft class. We all know that it is very, very, very unproven. I mean, it's the definition of unproven because they're all rookies, right? But I'd say the Lions draft class of working out has a little bit better of a shot than the Jaguars, because the Lions had 4 picks out of the first 45, and 3 of them are already listed as starters on the Detroit Lions depth chart according to the ESPN Detroit Lions depth chart website. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, and Sam Laporta. And we didn't even mention Brian Branch, who's listed as a 2nd string, but he might be the best rookie of them all when it's all said and done. It wouldn't shock me at all. And the Jaguars had 1 pick in the first 45, Anton Harrison, who is listed as a starter, and then you had a pick at 61 in Bretton Strange. But a lot of lower round picks which the Jacksonville Jaguars have not shown an ability to hit. Did you hear the names I mentioned for them in the 2022 draft versus the Detroit Lions?
Gregory Jr.?
Gregory Jr., that is, I couldn't believe that.
Yes. All you need to say there, Flannel, with that one.
Yes, and to kind of put the cherry on top of why I would choose the Detroit Lions, besides the fact that I think they're built for more sustained success, in my opinion, at least with them drafting so many good players. The AFC is just tougher right now because the Jacksonville, listen to all these teams. You got the Chiefs, they're better. The Bills, they're better. The Bengals have proven to be better. I don't know if they will be this year, but that's up for debate. Are the Jacksonville Jaguars definitively better than the Chargers? I know they beat them in the playoffs this year, but the Chargers are a threat. The Browns, the Steelers, the Ravens, even the Broncos, I think we all expect a little bit of a bounce back. The Jets, the Dolphins, those are all teams that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have to get through, and more so than all the Kansas City Chiefs. How many good up-and-coming teams, how many Super Bowl appearances did the Patriots take away from the Colts, even the Chargers, even like the Steelers, teams like that? Quite a few, and I think the Chiefs will have that kind of effect on teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars. They already beat them in the playoffs this year. I think it is much more likely that the Lions win the NFC than the Jaguars win the AFC this year, and even in the future. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars can hit their potential. Like Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne, their linebacking core, they all kind of hit their ceiling, and they still never win an AFC because it is so goddamn tough. I just, with all that being said, with the way they're built, with the way the NFC is set up versus the AFC, I know the Jacksonville Jaguars have some advantages, but I am going with, I would much rather be right now the Detroit Lions.
Flannel?
Yes.
Do one of these for me. Mic drop, baby. You were cooking there, Flannel.
Thank you.
Flannel was cooking.
Thank you.
You were cooking with sauce.
Thank you.
Jeff, what do you got to say?
So, okay. And now, listen, Flannel was cooking, and he made a lot of great points. And I think the Really, the biggest points of this whole conversation is the conference the Jags are in, because if you told me the Jags, and let's just say hypothetically the Jags were in the NFC, I would probably go with the Jags. Because, again, finding a franchise quarterback is one of the hardest things you can do. And for a guy like Trevor, who's going to be around for this organization for another 15 years, like, that's tough. But he's in the AFC, to your point.
Yeah.
And let's go through the quarterbacks you're going to be facing in the playoffs. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Herbert, all under 28 years old.
That's another great point.
They're going to be around for a while. So that's really the big thing for me. The Lions, you could bring up the roster and people would say, well, why are you selling? Why would you give Trevor Lawrence that nod already over Jared Goff? Well, Jared Goff is 28 years old, and he had a great season last year, and he's going to turn 29 next season. Trevor Lawrence is young, and he already, the year he had last year, at least the second half, he was one of the hottest quarterbacks behind Jared Goff. So let's not act like Trevor Lawrence is some slouch either. Like, he's on a great trajectory as well. He finally has a competent head coach in Doug Peterson, so he'll be all right. But that conference is tough. Like, you're talking about 5 guys that you're going to have to consistently battle to even make an AFC championship game. Now, the Lions, the big, I guess the David versus Goliath, you're facing the 49ers and the Eagles, which, talk about quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, he's great, but he had one good year, and then the 49ers don't really know who their quarterback is, but you know how great their team is. So if you give me, Jeff, what situation would you rather have because of the conference, because of the quarterbacks who the Jags are facing? You'd have to lean Lions, because as a roster, I'll take the Lions roster as a whole over the Jags, right? The offensive line, the defensive line, and where they're projected to go, the secondary as well. I love Tyson Campbell, but a complete secondary, the Lions are trending towards that right now. And they keep having great draft classes. Like, let's go even above the team. I would rather have Brad Holmes over Trent Baalke. I would rather have Sheila Ford Hamp over ownership of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Con or whatever.
Nut job.
So we're going like deeper into this, right? Ownership, front office, players. Now, the only thing I would be hesitant in is quarterback. But if that's the only thing, you have to bring up the conference he's in. Like, again, if Trevor Lawrence was in the NFC, you'd be like, man, he might be the best quarterback in this conference. Or he probably would be. But he's in the AFC, and that does change things. So I guess if you're asking me what situation I'd rather be, if I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, to get there, I mean, the path would have to be the NFC. So I'd have to go with the Detroit Lions for that roster, because you don't even need a Trevor Lawrence in the NFC to make the Super Bowl, at least where the quarterback play is. I mean, Dak Prescott's in this conference, and they're a top 3 team. Like, Dak Prescott, you look at the top 5 quarterbacks, where would Dak rank? Mahomes in the AFC. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Herbert, like he's down that list. But in the NFC, he's up there. So easier competition for the Detroit Lions. I think as a roster, they're trending upwards. And I would probably go with the Detroit Lions as well. The only thing, like I said, is quarterback. But it's hard when you're in the AFC, Lucas, and you got to face all these dudes who are also franchise and elite quarterbacks.
Yeah, this is tough. This is really tough. Because I don't want to sound like a homer at the same time, but it's like, if you were to drop the Jags roster in like the NFC South right now instead of the AFC South, I think we would all be heavy favorites. Like, Jags could easily be the 1 seed in the NFC just because of how they're built. But the fact that they're in the AFC, not only with the teams around them, but the coaches in the AFC. I mean, if you just go even with the teams that are kind of on the edge, like the Steelers, the Broncos, you can say what you want about the Ravens. The coaching depth in the AFC is insane. So even those teams that they're not as talented as the Jags, but when it comes to playoff time, the teams that are very highly coached, that could easily knock you out and you're just not really thinking about it, even those teams in the AFC are even deeper. So it's like a 55-45 for me. I think the thing that kind of tilts the meter is Brad Holmes, and the fact, like you guys already said, I'm not going to harp on it more, that they're in the NFC. But, yeah, it's close. I think the Jags could easily be, just because they're in the AFC South, they could be the 1-2 in the AFC this year.
Yeah.
But, again, that doesn't mean that they would go as far in the playoffs when that regular season record really doesn't matter anymore.
You're talking about, look at the comparison between first-round matchups. Like, let's say, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they win their division again, and let's say they'll get a Justin Herbert for their first game, when the Detroit Lions could get a New Orleans Saints, or they could get a Seattle Seahawks team. Like, talk about competition. Like, for the Jacksonville Jaguars to get to an AFC Championship game or get to a Super Bowl, you're potentially going to have to beat Herbert, Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, any of these guys.
Aaron Rodgers now?
Rodgers.
Yeah.
Is he making the Super Bowl, Sam Flannel?
No.
Okay. Just testing it. But you might have to face – say it, Flannel. You might have to face an Aaron Rodgers as well. So that's the path to success. So, again, if people would say, well, what are you talking about? The Jacksonville Jaguars have a better roster. It's not extremely better. And you talk about the conference they're in, really? Like, that's tough. That's tough. And that's where I would say, because you look at the AFC South, that there's another argument. Well, who else is a threat in that division? That NFC North ain't looking much better.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's a draw. Like, really, AFC South, NFC
now,
North.
the AFC South has younger quarterbacks, which always is great, right? Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud. But Justin Fields, Jordan Love, I think that the divisions are similar, and give me the Lions in the NFC.
Yeah, and
the NFC and Brad Holmes are the two biggest factors for me.
Well, and also another thing that I didn't even bring up when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars too, and I'll get this out really quick, and then I will go to JB, of course, is that their offensive line can't touch the Lions' offensive line.
I mean, we're 100-foot pole.
Like Brandon Sheriff and a lot of question marks, and then you even look at their defensive line and edge rusher depth versus the Lions' defensive line and edge rusher depth. I would take the Lions any day of the week, and even in the secondary, I think if you put all those two secondaries together, Tyson Campbell might right now at this moment be the best overall player, but when you go to depth, it is the Lions every day of the week and twice on Sundays. And yes, JB, I want to get your thoughts on this. Are we unanimous in this room that the Lions have a better situation, albeit by not that much?
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm taking the Jags on this. No.
Are you?
No, come on now. If anything, I'm the biggest Lions homer that there is here. But, of course, I'm going to pick the Lions as well. But I have to give credit to the Jags, too, just because if you look at the track history on both of these franchises, they have not had consistent success. And it's finally starting to show now with this slow rebuild. But, once again, I'm still going to have to go with the Lions, just because, as what you said earlier this week, Flannel, you know, a lot of people might not like you, but for one day, for one moment, they will at least appreciate your takes and agree with you. And I have to agree with you again with the whole Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, because it's not just about getting getting players out here on this field just to field the team. It's about getting the right players, and I feel like that's something that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have done together collectively. Yes, they can sit here and look at tape on Jalen Carter and all these other athletes and sit there and look at both of each other in the face and be like, you know what, we're going to pass on them because it doesn't fit what we want to build here as a team, our culture. That's why they skipped on Jalen Carter, and that's why we got Jahmyr Gibbs, a speedy running back that's also going to benefit us as a wide receiver as well too. They look past all of this and everything that they've seen and just look at the tape and look and see that this is not a guy that fits what we're trying to build here. So, of course, I have to go with the Detroit Lions on this one.
Yeah, and just to get to some of these comments, Public Enemy, Jeff, stop making excuses for Trevor, because if he is him, it doesn't matter the conference, just win, baby. No, I understand that, but at the same time, it does matter. I mean, like I said, you're facing 5 guys that are all under 28 years old who are elite quarterbacks that are top 10. If you go through top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, half of them, or 60%, 70% of them probably, are in the AFC.
Absolutely.
And that's the hesitation for me. It's not even about Trevor. We're not sleeping on Trevor Lawrence. Trust me, he's elite, or he's going to be elite. But Jared Goff, too, it's not like a significant drop-off. Like, there's elite, and then there's guys that are, like, just fine, right? And Jared is one of those guys, but it doesn't mean you can't win with him. Like, it's not like you have frickin' Baker Mayfield as your starting quarterback. Like, Jared Goff's fine. Now, you go to coaches, Doug Peterson's proven. He's won a Super Bowl. That's the biggest thing. But Dan is trending upwards. This season is a big one for Dan, because if he comes out and wins 11, 12 games, now it's like, okay, yeah, this is the dude. But we still have to see it. But I'm confident he will trend upward. And then front office, it's not even close. I'll take Brad Holmes and Sheila. Like, those two, at least from a upper management and ownership perspective, I'll take the Lions. So, and then as a roster, we just went tit for tat with it. The Lions are better in different position groups. Yeah. Maybe wide receiver, you take the Jags, but now we're just nitpicking at this point. Give me the Lions, like you said, the offensive line. I just think they have a better situation, and the end-all, be-all is the NFC. You're in the NFC, which is a weaker conference. So you're thinking about making a Super Bowl run. You could do it.
I mean, are we spoiled by Brad Holmes at this point? Not to kind of get off on a tangent,
yes.
but when I really looked at the 2022 draft classes, the Lions versus the Jaguars, obviously the Jaguars, they got a hit in that one in the first round in Devin Lloyd, but they weren't hitting on any of their later round picks like Brad Holmes does, like Brent Veach has done very well over the last couple of years as well, which has helped the Kansas City Chiefs maintain sustained success. And when you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars hits from 2021, you got 2 first-round picks and an upper second-round pick, and Lawrence Etienne and Tyson Campbell. But in order to really, really take that next step, you got to hit on some of those 4th-round picks, 6th-round picks, 3rd-round picks, which Brad Holmes certainly has, which Brent Veach has, like guys like that. So it's just a testament to how spoiled we've become, that we're expecting, like, oh my goodness, those swines in Jacksonville can't even hit on a 6th-round pick. They get Gregory Jr. and we get James Houston and Malcolm Rodriguez. Tisk, tisk. But still, I'm not disrespecting the Jaguars. I think that they are definitely going to win the AFC South, and they're going to be a problem for years to come. I mean, they're going to be very good.
You look at the sample size you have with Brad Holmes and the amount of talent he's found past, the 4th round. I mean, Amon-Ra, James Houston, Malcolm Rodriguez. Like, you can keep going with the guys he's found. Give him 2, 3, 4, 5 more years. That's the thing. You're talking about projection. What situation you'd much rather have? The Lions, man, their trajectory is the Jaguars as well. But I'm more confident in what Brad's doing cooking back there than I am Trent Baalke. I just am. I mean, I'm sitting.
No, it's true, because that's what it came down to for me. Because I was like, yeah, this year I think the Lions definitely being in the NFC are in a better situation. But even like 4 or 5 years when Trevor's in his prime, do I really want to pick against that? But I'm like, that's going to be probably Brad Holmes' GM prime. This man's only been doing this for 2-3 seasons, and he's already performed better than any GM in the league, arguably, as far as the draft class goes, outside of Howie Roseman and GM in Philadelphia.
Howie Roseman, I forgot about him.
I'm going to give him his credit there, because that man's been killing it over in Philadelphia, too. But, I mean, the Lions have went from the worst ran organization in all of sports outside of maybe the Oakland Athletics to now having arguably one of the best GMs in the league.
Yep,
so it's
respected.
Just, that will keep the longevity of an organization more than a quarterback. Because if a quarterback gets hurt, now you're screwed. But a GM, he's not getting hurt. He's only going to get better.
I'll just say Trent Baalke is the one who took Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson, which he fell right into our hands. So if that says anything, and Trayvon I think will be a fine player. But yeah, give me Brad Holmes. And for this comment too, John Fisher, I think I don't know how to exactly pronounce your last name, but he comments, chiming in. I think rambling on about an elite quarterback in tough conference is dumb. Well, that's the argument. Like that's the whole point of this discussion. So my apologies, John. Just you could reach out to me.
We'll make this show suited for John from now on.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do. I think that's fair. I'll tell you what. We'll go to break. We get back. I want to get into some of these Rookie of the Year odds for Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs, because you're going to want to see these odds. They're getting better and better as the days go on. But I want to tell you about our friends over at Guardian Alarm. They got customized solutions from real experts, 24/7 professional monitoring and technology backed by people. All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT today. Tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you. That is 1-800-STAY-OUT. Tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then, she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
How would you like to win a 100K Vegas getaway? Take your closest friends and live it up in the city that never sleeps. It's the Syntron Energy Drink It and Live It. Purchase a 24-pack today and enter to win. Again, the 100K Vegas getaway. drinksyntron.com/Vegas. Syntron, the healthier energy drink with great taste and the choice of people who desire to look good, feel great, and be the best versions of themselves. drinksyntron.com/Vegas. Welcome, everybody, back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, hit the like button if you haven't already. Let's try to get to 150 likes by the end of this segment.
150.
Let's get it. We got plenty more to get to. I want to get into some of these rookies. because these odds are getting better and better. Jack Campbell, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Jahmyr Gibbs, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I want to start now with Jack Campbell because I want to read some of these odds that I'm seeing now amongst the different sports books. You look at NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year odds. Number 1 on FanDuel. And this is, Lucas, this guy just doesn't miss, man. He really does not miss.
You worry about your job. I'll worry about mine.
Look at Lucas, man. Legend.
Lucas is over there goated.
He is. He got it for me. I didn't even ask him. Will Anderson, plus 400. Okay, and that's fair. He should be favored to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Jalen Carter coming in at second. Devon Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez, Tyree Wilson, Lucas Van Ness. Lucas.
That makes no sense to me.
And then Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell coming in with the 6th best odds to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then Emmanuel Forbes just kind of floating right behind him. But my question is this too low for Jack Campbell? We'll start with Jack because we know he's going to make an impact. I would assume he'd be starting or playing significant snaps right away, and you can win right there. It says bet $20 to win $360 if you put it on Jack Campbell. Is he too low? I'll start there, Sam Flannel. Should he be higher, or you think he's just right? Too high, maybe?
No, I certainly don't think he's too high. It's really, really tough, at least in the modern NFL. When you look at the past 13 Defensive Rookie of the Years, only 2 of them have been like inside linebacker types. Like it was Luke Kuechly and Shaquille Leonard. And you know how good Luke Kuechly was, and you know how dominant Shaquille Leonard was, and still is when he's healthy. So it's very, very hard. When you look at least lately, it's been a lot of edge rushers, a couple defensive tackles, even a couple of defensive backs. But even they listed Christian Gonzalez and Devon Witherspoon. I might, and I'm not saying they're not going to be good players, I'm saying I might slot Jack Campbell in ahead of them because after what I saw in preseason, I do think he is going to be their starting linebacker from day one, and I think he's going to get the usage. I think he's going to get about 125, 130 tackles, maybe a couple picks, maybe a couple sacks, and some tackles for loss, and I think that his impact will clearly be shown on this defense. So I looked back at a couple of Rookie of the Years of past times. I know it's a little bit of a different era, but it's in the early 2000s. And this is what Gerard Mayo put up when he won Rookie of the Year defensively.
Talk about all-time linebacker that slept down right there.
128 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 0 interceptions, 0 sacks. I don't think that's going to be enough to win it this year, but a season like that won Defensive Rookie of the Year at one point, and I think Jack Campbell could put up similar type numbers with the tackles and the tackles for loss, but maybe include an interception or a sack or maybe a couple of each. We shall see. I wouldn't put it past him. I think it's going to be clearly Will Anderson when it's all said and done. I think he's going to have a dynamite rookie year, but if Jack Campbell gets some votes, if he has that season where he just racks up the tackle numbers, makes a big impact defensively, he shows his worth in coverage and even making a couple of big explosive splash plays, I could definitely see Jack Campbell being maybe top 3 to 5. I don't think he'll win it, but if we're going by the odds, I'd put a few bucks down on it. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
And now, for people asking where Brian Branch falls on this, he's top 15, which, he's down there. And I think that's assuming he won't play as much. I don't know. For talent-wise, he should not be top 15.
But don't know yet.
Yeah, and he's down there. He's plus 3,500. So $20 can win you a fat stack of cash. It can get you $700 if you throw it on Brian Branch on FanDuel. Which, hey,
that's well worth the risk.
Yeah,
right
that's worth the risk right there. Now, I'll tell you what, about Jack Campbell. Is he too high? Is he too low? Or is he just right? I think he's a little too low. I would maybe put him, like you said, Lucas, maybe in front of Tyree Wilson or Lucas Van Ness. But again, edge rushers seem to always get favored because you look at prior Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates, and we made this point about Aiden earlier. Yeah, he had a Defensive Rookie of the Year, but Sauce Gardner was unfortunately the best rookie in the entire NFL, at least on defensively. So it's always about who's in the race. It's not just about what kind of year can Jack Campbell have, because even if he does have over 100 tackles, a couple tackles for losses, maybe a pick, maybe a sack, you still have guys like, a Will Anderson who could get damn near double-digit sacks and who knows, an interception. Like it depends on how all these other guys play. A Devon Witherspoon who out in Seattle with Tariq Woolen, I think is going to be really damn good. Christian Gonzalez, I think, could surprise people as well in New England. Tyree Wilson, Lucas Van Ness. As much as we want to talk about Lucas Van Ness, he could easily come out and have a pretty good damn year.
Sure.
So it depends on how these other guys. Do I think Jack has a legitimate chance to win it? No, I wouldn't say that, but I do think he could be in the race. I just don't know if Jack will be able to surpass these guys, because for him, I think to surpass them, he's going to have a all-time type of rookie year, I think. Like over 100 tackles, maybe a couple picks, couple sacks. Like he's going to have to be one of the Lions' best defensive players. And then I think, okay, well, then you have to give it to him at this point. But I don't think he'll win it. And maybe he's too low, but he still should be a top 5 maybe candidate at the very highest to me.
No, I mean, this is clearly the Defensive Rookie of the Year award is Will Anderson and Devon Witherspoon's award to lose. But the fact that they have Lucas Van Ness over this man it's mind-blowing. Both of these guys played at Iowa at the same time, and there was clearly a better player there. It was Jack Campbell. Lucas Van Ness struggled to start for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and now you're throwing in a position where he's got a loaded defensive line in front of him, so he'll probably start, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere close to the Packers' best edge rusher. So besides that, I'm fine with it. I think Jack Campbell's going to be in the race, but to have Lucas Van Ness ahead of him, I think is just mind-blowing. I think that's where they're going to make most of their money off these bets, is because people will probably be like, Packers edge rusher, pretty solid. That's a safe bet. But when you actually look at the prospect, that's where they're making all their money at. There's no way that Lucas Van Ness should be ahead of him. That's really the only bone I have to pick with this list.
Well, let me ask you this question about Lucas Van Ness. I'm not saying that he's going to be some uber stud or anything. I question the pick. I think that is fair, just like you when the Packers made it. But what if he puts up, I'm not calling for this, by the way, a season similar to what George Karlaftis did? I'm not saying that he would win it, but George Karlaftis had 6 sacks. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Lucas Van Ness got that. And a lot of times the Defensive Rookie of the Year is about splash plays. I mean, that's just fair. Like a solid inside linebacker, they don't usually win it, at least in this era, unless, of course, like I said, you're Luke Kuechly or Shaq Leonard.
Yeah, I mean, even to Sam's point, I mean, 6 sacks for Lucas Van Ness, that's about a sack every 3 games.
That's what I think his ceiling will be in the NFL. He is a very limited pass rusher. If he was some huge talent, like, you didn't hear anything about him through college football season. He was one of those prospects when it came to the combine, like, this guy's huge, runs a good 40, he's athletic, but it's like, all right, what did he do at Iowa? There's not a lot there. You go to Jack Campbell, what he did at Iowa, hell of a lot more film to watch there. And that's why it's just like, you've watched these guys play on the field on the same team for numerous times, and you're still going to say, yeah, but I think Lucas Van Ness is spelled better. If you're going to spell your name with a K, with Lucas with a K, that's a fraternity right there. You better perform. I don't think he is.
And look at this. Blade says Lucas hating on Lucas.
Yeah, that's a fraternity. Lucas, and when I saw that he went to the Packers, I was like, yeah, I didn't like him already. Now I hate him.
Yeah, and now people are chiming in here as well. Steve says, how quickly would Neal lose it if a player from Iowa won Defensive Rookie of the Year or Rookie of the Year? Yeah, he'd probably lose it. And there you go. Blade says if he can get 6+ sacks from the defensive tackle position, he will be in the discussion. Steve Wild says Van Ness was drafted higher, bruh. Which is true, but that doesn't always mean you're going to win Defensive Rookie. I mean, Sauce was drafted after Aiden and still won it.
Mitch Trubisky was drafted before Deshaun Watson as well.
Yeah, there you go.
A couple quarterbacks drafted before Mahomes as well.
Yeah, so again, and I want to get to Jahmyr Gibbs in a second here, but Eric Allen states, how is Van Ness ahead of Campbell when Jack was stated to be the best linebacker in the draft? And that's the thing, right? Like, the talent thing about Jack Campbell, this isn't just saying he won't win Defensive Rookie of the Year doesn't mean much. He's still going to be a great player. I'm curious, again, edge rushers or an elite corner, who does it favor? Like a middle linebacker win it? Like, even a guy like last year, and I'm not comparing the players directly, but a guy like Devin Lloyd, who I loved coming out of the draft last year, and you look at his rookie year, 3 interceptions, 8 pass deflections, 115 combined tackles. But even for him, he wasn't even remotely really in the discussion at all. Like for Jack, you'd have to have the 100+ tackles, the couple interceptions, a couple sacks, maybe a forced fumble. Like, he's going to have to basically dial a phone number in the box score for his stat sheet. just a bunch of numbers.
Which he can.
Which he could.
Yeah, you're not saying that he can't
Which
do that.
he could. Absolutely he could, but that's the pathway for him. Now, I can give you the pathway. I don't know if it'll happen, and I don't know what Will Anderson's going to do.
Right.
I mean, this guy could come out and have double-digit sacks. I don't know. So there's a lot of mysterious things, a lot of things that need to happen a certain way, but Jack Campbell's going to be a damn good player. No doubt about it. We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to discuss a little more Jahmyr Gibbs because you're going to want to see where he's ranked on this list, and then we'll get into some of the rookie quarterbacks in the NFL because Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, all starters confirmed from each of their teams. Who will have the best season? We'll get to that in about 13 minutes. But before we do that, JB, can you tell everybody about our friends over at Big Boy?
Oh, you know I can because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like some strawberry hotcakes or the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with a refreshing summer splash salad. But don't leave without grabbing some dessert because they've got the very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep fried vanilla Oreos, and of course, the strawberry hot fudge cakes, and so much more at your local Big Boy.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Again, don't forget, hit the like button on the stream. We'll try We'll try to get to as many likes as we can. Again, appreciate you guys for showing support. Subscribe if you haven't already. Plenty more Lions to get to. And again, for Jahmyr Gibbs, this guy's in the Offensive Rookie of the Year race. I mean, the Lions, you can call it, all these people after the draft calling it a terrible draft. Well, there you go. God, look at most bet on player to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Who else? Jahmyr Gibbs, 23%. It's plus 750. Right now, FanDuel, he comes in with top 5 odds. Only in front of him, 3 quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, and then the Bijan Robinson, which, again, we'd all agree he's probably the favorite. But should he be? Is Jahmyr Gibbs. He's top 5. And we'll get to this quickly because I want to get into a preseason conversation. I don't want to spend too much time on this. But Jahmyr Gibbs, top 5. You know, right now he's plus 1,000. Bet $20. You win 200. What do you think, Sam Flannel?
Ooh, I don't know if I can get through this one quickly. I will do my best. And this is where Flannel giveth and Flannel taketh away. Jahmyr Gibbs, both things can be true. He can be a very effective weapon from this offense for many, many years to come with his versatility, his speed, his elusiveness, and I think as the years go on, he's going to get more running between the tackles. But let me ask you guys a question. I have never heard anybody here or at any other network anywhere predict Jahmyr Gibbs has 1,000 rushing yards this year. It seems like it's a foregone conclusion that he won't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think he will.
Jahmyr Gibbs has 0 chance to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I'm not trying to be a dick. Let me give you a little bit of a Flannel history lesson. Since the year 2000, there have been 9 running backs who have won the Rookie of the Year. 8 of them have had 1,000-yard seasons, including Mike Anderson with 1,487 and 15 touchdowns on 5 yards per carry in 2000. What about Clinton Portis? 1,508 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry. What about Adrian Peterson's rookie year? 1,341, 12 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry. You got Todd Gurley's rookie year. You've got Saquon Barkley's rookie year. You can even include Eddie Lacy's rookie year, which wasn't as good as those guys, but he was damn good his rookie year, though, and you guys cannot deny that. There's one guy, though, I said 8 of 9. One of them, of course, is Alvin Kamara, who won it, I believe, in 2017. But listen to these numbers that he put up. Do you guys think Bijan Robinson is getting this? 728 rushing yards on 6.1 yards per carry and 8 touchdowns. And receiving, 81 receptions, 826 yards, 5 touchdowns. those are the type of numbers that typically you have to put up on a season to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, because you look at it every single year. You even look at it with Tyler Algier last year, or even Kenneth Walker, who is more projected to be. Somebody pops off for 1,000 yards as a rookie every single year, usually multiple people. And I think the Rookie of the Year award is more built for a guy like Bijan Robinson, who I know he'll split some carries with Tyler Algier because you can't put that guy on the bench completely, but still, I think he's going to have, I predicted it, about 1,400 rushing yards. I think he leads the NFC in rushing. And I think we all think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be very, very good. It may be great someday, but I hear a lot of 700 rushing yards, 500 receiving yards, or maybe 600 rushing yards, 600 receiving yards, or something like that.
Which is great.
That is very, very good.
Which is great.
But that is not enough to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And that's why I think he has even less of a chance to win Offensive Rookie of the Year than Jack Campbell has to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
No, it's very well said, Flannel. Now, I think what I'm hearing is, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, either you have to have well over 1,000 yards rushing, or you got to have about 1,600 yards from scrimmage.
Alvin Kamara.
So, that's what we're working with. Now, can Jahmyr get that? Yeah. But again, this goes back to the point I made last segment. Who else is in the race? Mm-hmm. How many yards does Bijan get? Because if he goes out and has an Zeke Elliott, rookie year, the award's his. So, do I think he can win it? Yes, there's a chance, but again, it depends on these other guys. Do I think a C.J. Stroud, even though I defend him, should be higher? No, I don't. I don't think C.J. is going to come out and have even a close to an Offensive Rookie of the Year performance. I don't think so, because year one in Houston's going to be rough. So I don't think he should be above Jahmyr, to be honest with you. Anthony Richardson, the biggest thing for Anthony Richardson is his legs. I think he's going to struggle too, which he should. I mean, this is a guy that was projected to sit. He's starting. I think there's going to be some rookie things he's going to have to overcome. I mean, he showed that, him and CJ in the preseason. I know it's preseason, but it's true. He knew this before the NFL as well. The only two that I think that Jahmyr Gibbs has to jump is Bryce Young and Bijan, which I don't know. Bryce Young's in a great situation, and I think Bryce could have again, they always favor quarterbacks and running backs, but I think Bryce Young could be in the conversation. I think he will be. And then a Bijan, say what you want. Who will be a better player in 10 years? You can have that argument. But day one, with the amount of carries that Bijan's going to get, I think it's realistic, Lucas, in 17 games, he's going to get you 1,300 yards. Yeah. So, that's – and he could add 300, 400 receiving, which I think would lock up Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Definitely. I think – Bijan could have the production that we seen similar to Ezekiel Elliott rookie year, although I don't know if it'll be as high just because Flannel pointed out Algier's there, but I'm saying just from what you see on him from an on-the-field standpoint, I think it's very similar. But in my opinion, I think this award is just a lock for Bryce Young. I mean, he's in a weak division. I understand New Orleans is there, but it's the same division that Bijan Robinson's in. So if you have a rookie quarterback who does have very solid pieces around him, it's not like he does not have anything. They have a solid O-line. They have very, very solid veterans receiver with Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, and then they drafted Jonathan Mingo, a veteran running back who was just in the Super Bowl last year, and Miles Sanders. They got Deuce Staley as well, and a very, very sneaky, underrated defense. So I am picking the Panthers to win the NFC South, and if you have a rookie quarterback who's performing at a decent rate and they win a division, I mean, we've seen Sam Bradford win a Rookie of the Year.
Right.
He's not that talented. I'm not comparing those two. I'm just saying Bryce Young is the best quarterback in Alabama history. Yes. We've seen Tua. We've seen Jalen Hurts. If this guy is plugged into the system and he works, which I think he will, I think Bryce Young is going to work perfectly in Carolina until injuries catch up with them. But this is Bryce Young award to lose, just like we talked about with Will Anderson. I think Bijan's going to be great. I think Jahmyr is going to be great. But it doesn't matter when you have a rookie quarterback that could possibly win a division.
Now, and I think Hoof-Hearted preaching facts, and this is why I love you, man. He chiming in now. He says, and this is a mic drop, Gibbs likely won't win Rookie of the Year because of David Montgomery. There you go. And how balanced the offense is, which is true. He's talented enough. There you go. But he won't be force-fed at all. Bijan and Young will be force-fed. Now, that's the biggest takeaway. Just because you say he won't, or we don't think he will, it's most likely he will not win Offensive Rookie. There doesn't mean he's some bum. Jahmyr is going to be dynamic. He's going to be great. He's going to be a weapon for years to come. But Offensive Rookie of the Year, it matters. Like, Aiden didn't win it. You still love him. So this isn't like to knock Jahmyr, but like Lucas so eloquently kind of laid out there, and you did too, Sam Flannel, like situation-wise, Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson, they're primed to do it. They just are. Unless Jahmyr proves everybody wrong and has 1,000. Then I'll just be like, you know what? The guy's, he's him. You just give him the award. But until then, I don't think it'll happen. I think David Montgomery's going to get more of those carries, and Jameer's still going to be dynamic. He might not get force-fed enough to put up the numbers to get those type of offensive rookie of the year numbers. That's all.
Yes, and to piggyback off of what Hoof Hearted said, I actually agree. My analysis of what Jahmyr Gibbs' numbers are going to be is not because of his lack of talent. And I saw another comment in here that the Lions are going to spread the ball around. I mean, when it comes to receiving, Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to get a lot of targets. Sam Laporte is going to get some targets. You even look at maybe like a Josh Reynolds or a Marvin Jones. And then
especially in the red zone, which is going to matter when you're going statistically with Bijan.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And does anybody think he's going to get more carries than David Montgomery?
No, he won't.
That's not a problem for him as a player, but to win Rookie of the Year, that kind of is a problem, and that's my point. He's just not going to put up the numbers, but he's going to be damn good, and he could be damn good for years to come.
Yeah, like even Blade saying Algier and Patterson will take carries away, but the thing is, it's how the carries are, I guess measured around. Like for example, David Montgomery's going to get his 15 to 16 carries, and then you have a Jahmyr with 9, 10, whatever the case may be. Bijan's going to be the one getting 15, 16 in Atlanta. Tyler Algier, and again, he might be so damn good they gave him 20. But let's just say Algier's featured, he's going to be the one getting 8, 9. Mm-hmm. Like it's not going to be 15 for Algier and 9 for no. It's going to be the opposite. Bijan's going to be getting more carries than anybody else on that roster, at least in the running back room. So that's the point. Not saying that Algier or Patterson won't get any carries, but Bijan unquestionably, I will bet money on it, will get more carries than those other two players. You drafted him 6th overall. Mm-hmm. He's going to get force fed. I mean, the prime years for a running back is the first 5 years. You want to get everything out of them as you can. And for a guy like Bijan, who is a bell cow, he will get all that and more. We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to bring up some of the rookie quarterbacks. And Broder actually sent over some of the Dan Campbell press conference. Maybe we'll show some of that for the people, talk about some things he said. But before we do that, Sam, can you tell everybody at home about our friends over at Swiss Insurance?
Swiss Insurance, of course. And now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered. Whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool, your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at swissins.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
The Academy of Warren has a brand new state-of-the-art sports dome field house that has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, and soccer field. Again, the Academy of Warren features like a learning street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, academic games, and K-8 athletics. Don't forget, Ermanni and Edwards with Maz will be broadcasting from the Carnival on August 24th. Come out, meet the staff, explore your child's new school. Now, Academy of Warren is accepting new enrollment. Go to theacademyofwarren.net for more information. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, hit the like button on the stream. We'll try to get to 175 likes by the end of this segment. Plenty more to get to now. We're going to get into some of the NFL rookie quarterbacks. And Blade, and I want to address this too, and because he did respond, he says, so Gibbs should be force-fed. He was only picked 6 picks later, but they're different running backs. That's the point too.
Yeah, and
Jahmyr isn't a bell cow back. And that's fine. He shouldn't be. He's a weapon. You use him in the passing game. Like, Bijan's built to be given 20-plus carries a game. That's just how it works.
The Jahmyr pick was they were playing with house money. The Lions aren't in a huge rebuild right now. Obviously, they are in kind of the final stage, you would think, of a rebuild where now they're ready to compete. But Atlanta is still getting pieces where, like, all right, this is a core piece for the future. Not saying that Jahmyr isn't, but at that point, it's like, yeah, we had DeAndre Swift. We can get a little bit better here, and I don't think Atlanta's in that position. I mean, they had Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier, and they tried to do the same thing. They're like, we can get a little bit better, but it's just not going to be the same role.
And this is the problem, too. People are like, you know, give Jahmyr a majority of the carries, but then when he's hurt, everyone's mad.
Yeah.
It's like that's what you don't want. You don't want to give Jameer 15, 18 carries, then he's banged up by week 7, and everyone's like, oh, this guy's injury prone.
And
like, dude, I would rather use him. You give him 8 to 10, get a sample size, and then you get 5, 6 catches out the backfield, lining up in the slot. That's where Jameer's money's going to be made. Not getting 20 carries, run up the middle between the tackles. He's much more dynamic than that. That's my point. Not saying he's, Bijan is just miles above him, but Bijan is going to be the guy that gets 1,300 yards, but I think Jameer's a better pass catcher. There you go. He's a better pass catcher. I don't think he should be getting 20 carries. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I don't think the Lions want to do that either. I don't think that's logical. He's 5'9".
It's easy to take
200
Jahmyr
pounds.
Gibbs at 12 when you're getting Jack Campbell 6 picks later at 18. It's a different role. It's a whole different situation. The context is not added in that statement.
And Justin knows, so it's impossible that Bijan gets hurt. No, it's not impossible.
They're just trolling at this point. They're just
I know.
trolling. They're trolling.
Guys, and if you don't understand this concept, I don't know what to do for you. I mean, they've made this pretty clear. Jameer's not going to get more carries than David Montgomery. Doesn't mean he's not better, but you want to, again, conserve Jahmyr and use him in the best possible way. You're not trying to feed that man 25 carries. If you want to do that, I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't know what to tell you. And maybe I'm an idiot for not trying to give Jahmyr 25 plus carries, 20 plus carries. That's just not logical.
You're not an idiot, Jeff. But I think the only way Gibbs actually wins this award is if between week 3 to week 5 he becomes your running back 1, and then you sit David Montgomery behind Gibbs, which I don't think is gonna happen. It's not gonna happen at all. But Ben Johnson is going to utilize Gibbs as much as he can out there on the field, but it's just not going to happen. As you said, Bijan Robinson is going to be force-fed the ball in Atlanta in every way possible. They're going to try and get him the ball no matter what.
Yeah, look at Chuck Brewer. That's why I love Chuck. Jeff Gibbs needs 40 carries a game or we have no chance, and another 20 targets in the passing game. It'll work for game 1. We'll need a new running back for week 2, though. That's the point. It's like, guys, I mean, I don't want to run Jahmyr into the ground. That's just my opinion on it. But speaking about guys, at least in the running, but not running on the ground, but in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year, some of these quarterbacks, man, they're announced. They're starting. Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. And the question I have for everybody now is, who's going to have the best rookie year? Who's going to do it? Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson. Now, if you want to measure this with team success, fine. I don't think that's fair. More so just impressive. Who has the most impressive rookie year? Who shows the most flashes? And I'll start with you, Sam Flannel. Who do you got the most confidence in?
I have the most confidence in Bryce Young as a player. Here's though where I might have to discuss this with Lucas a little bit. Obviously, the Panthers, they have a very, very good defense. I would say out of all of the teams, I would probably even trust the Panthers defense over the Texans and over the Colts. I know Shaquille Leonard's going to be back, but still, they lost Stephon Gilmore. I think their defense might be kind of mid, but I think the Houston Texans offense is better than you think. I don't think C.J. Stroud's playing with nothing.
And where are we going to start this off at? As
maybe not nothing, but it's next to nothing.
Yeah, it's Dameon Pierce and John Mechie. That's what he's working with, in my opinion. Tank Dell's going to be nice, but he's still a rookie.
Okay, so let me build a case.
Build a case
for that. C.J. Stroud is actually not as bad of a situation as people like to claim, and he actually will have a good rookie season, albeit not as good as Bryce Young. I still think he's going to be the best of the three because I think he's the best overall quarterback, and I think his situation is relatively fine. I like the running back duo of Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary. I think Devin Singletary as a 2, I think he was actually maybe a little underappreciated in Buffalo. Call me crazy, but they didn't really utilize him enough.
He did as much as he could.
Okay, fair. I don't know if I necessarily agree. I think they should have given him the ball more, but anywho, that's neither here nor there. And you've said it, and I've said this many, many, many times. Call me a Michigan slappy all you want. Nico Collins, huge year. It's
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins.
I knew that Michigan fan, that Michigan slappy was coming out eventually.
Like that CJ Stroud's doing the Jared Goff with Nico Collins. He's like, Collins, huge year. That's it. No.
I think he leads the Texans in receiving yards this year.
Well, that's okay. Well, we'll start there. That's fair.
I have more confidence in him than I do in John Mechie and rookie Tank Dell. Although I think Tank Dell could be better moving forward. I think Robert Woods is cooked, but still he's a veteran. But the Houston Texans, and I'll even include Laramie Tunsil because he's a damn good left tackle, and nobody can deny that. The Houston Texans, and I'll try not to be long-winded, they did some things to address their roster. They brought in Dalton Schultz, who is a very fine tight end. They brought in Shaq Mason to give Laramie Tunsil some help.
And
Shaq
they got
Mason,
Titus Howard they re-signed on the other side of that offensive line, too.
And Shaq Mason is at least solid, I would say. They drafted Will Anderson, who is going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. I think he's the favorite. I think Christian Harris is solid. They brought in Denzel Perryman, who had a very, very good year in 2021, not as much in 2022. They brought in Jimmy Ward, who I know you like. Jalen Petrie was very, very good last year.
Jalen Petrie is a dog. I'll give you that much.
And I'll tell you what, maybe this is a little bit of blind faith, but I believe in his skill set. Derek Stingley Jr.'s got to take a jump, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because if he doesn't,
absolutely.
then he's a bust.
Yeah.
If he doesn't this year or next year, he's a bust.
It's
so I expect him
territory if he doesn't perform this year.
1,000,000,000%. I am glad that you said that. So my point is that I think the Houston Texans might even have a better situation than the Carolina Panthers.
Oh my God.
No,
All right, let's
no.
stop there. Because if we're going to talk about situations, we'll just stay in the AFC South.
Talk to him,
now.
Lucas.
So, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, both in the AFC South.
Get him.
One coach, DeMeco Ryans, first-year head coach, who's a defensive coach.
I'm concerned about that.
Defensive
I'm concerned about that.
Anthony
Defensive coach.
Richardson, he has Shane Steichen, who just was a huge reason in Jalen Hurts' progression. So we'll start at the coaching. I'm going to give Indianapolis the nod there.
Agreed.
Now go to the receiving corps. Michael Pittman is miles above Nico Collins.
As of now, not at the end of the year.
Bro,
Michael,
I'm about to do the flannel throw my headset here.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
not going to even give that much thought. Michael Pittman is miles above Nico Collins. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there. Yes, I do like Tank Dell, their second-round rookie, but I also like Indianapolis' second-round rookie, Josh Downs out of North Carolina. And then the one that really does it for me is Alec Pierce. I understand he had that drop in Buffalo, but Alec Pierce is going to be a very, very... He could be like a borderline star. I don't think he'll ever be like a household name, but just kind of like one of those underrated guys that when you watch him, you're like, oh, wow, this guy can actually play. You go to the defensive side of the ball, Indianapolis has had a solid defense for the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't think it's going anywhere. They have DeForest Buckner up front. They have Shaq Leonard there. And then I know they lost Isaiah Rodgers, but they still have Kenny Moore. Their safeties are a little bit worrisome, but again, they're in the AFC South, so they're not going to be playing a high-powered offense outside of Jacksonville who's going to walk through that division. So when you go down to it, I think Indianapolis clearly has a better situation. You go to Carolina, they're still in a weak division. They have Frank Wright, who's a better coach than
I agree
DeMeco
there.
Ryans. Again, I like that Devin Singletary. I'll give you Dameon Pierce over Miles Sanders. I'm still taking Carolina's defense without a doubt.
Yeah,
because
without a doubt.
Carolina's defense is loaded. And I'm still going to take Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, and in my opinion, the most underrated receiver in this draft class. I'm not saying he's going to be the best, but Jonathan Mingo is a dog. He's a copy clone of A.J. Brown as far as how he's built and how he plays. Will he perform that way? No, but could he potentially? Maybe. He has a very high ceiling, especially growing with Bryce Young. Both these guys are SEC rookies who are going to be playing together. No, I think C.J. Stroud is clearly in the worst situation, and I thought he needed to be the one that goes to the best situation, and it did not pan out that way.
And here's another stat, too. The Texans gave up the 5th most quarterback hits last year, 71. So that offensive line is as good as they look on paper, and they added Shaq Mason. There's still question marks, and that's why, at least with Houston, the defense is unproven. A lot of young guys, but at least with Bryce, you know that defense is going to bring it. Like J.C. Horn will be one of the better corners this year. He's trending upwards. Brian Burns is a beast. Derek Brown,
Jeremy Chin's a monster.
Jeremy Chin,
I don't know about monster, but okay, fine.
He's a great.
Yeah,
I love
he's not
Jeremy
like
Chin.
a premier elite safety, but he'll pop you in your mouth. He can do everything you ask him, and he'll pop you in your fucking mouth.
Now, and again, for at least Carolina, and I love the point Sam made, actually, because for him to defend the Houston Texans, that was a tough ass.
He sounds like Spenny there. Spenny thinks Houston's going to go worst to first.
I don't. They're not beating Jacksonville. They're not beating
Wait,
Jacksonville.
whoa.
Trust me, I've tried to talk him out of this. I'm like, Spenny, you are one of the people that have the better takes at this network. But this is the one where you've officially lost. He's like, yeah, he has all the faith in Dalton Schultz for whatever reason. I bring up Houston's wide receiver corps. Yeah, but Dalton Schultz. And I'm like, you realize Dalton Schultz was in Kellen Moore's offense last year with Tony Powell, Ezekiel Elliott, and CeeDee Lamb on the outside.
Whoa.
That's not me.
Spencer said they'll go from worst to first.
Houston Texans, yeah. He's doubled down on it too.
And I'll say this too, and I've been consistent with this, and I know Lucas, me and you are in lockstep here. I hate defensive coaches with rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks. I just hate it. And by the way, F the Bears, but the Bears, that was always my concern, right? Like, you look at Justin Fields and where he's trending. Come on, dude. Like, for a guy like that, you need an offensive head coach. That's how it's been preached. And Dan Campbell is an offensive head coach. I mean, say what you want about him. His primary focus has always been offense. But Matt Eberflus, like, D'Amico Ryans I like, but how good is he for C.J. Stroud's development? That's my question.
Yeah, and I mean, the Jets, 49ers defensive coordinator. Took a rookie quarterback. He didn't really help him that much. Now, I'm not saying I think as much as I dislike C.J. Stroud as a prospect, he's much better than Zach Wilson. So I'm not saying he is Zach Wilson. But if you just go around just the league's trajectory and what's happened in the past, you don't want a defensive head coach and take a quarterback that's needed to pan out. I think if they would have just took Will Anderson, kept their draft picks, get Will Anderson with the defensive head coach, get Caleb Williams or Drake May next year, you're in a much better situation.
Yeah,
you
and
keep
even
your assets too.
Even Cornelius T. He is a Sparty though, talking about Spenny. He says so it makes sense. Well, that's a shot right there at MSU. But yeah, Spenny, I love him. I do. I love Spenny. But that take, I don't know about that. I think Houston. I like the pieces they have, but D'Amico has to prove he can coach, which he can coach defensively, no doubt. And I do think D'Amico could be that type of Dan Campbell. He's the leadership. He's the voice of reason. I get it. He's a leader of men. Guys are going to follow everything he says. But offensively, with a rookie quarterback, you're going to have to figure that out.
No, and
that's a big thing.
That is 100% fair, and I'll keep this brief. The whole D'Amico Ryans and C.J. Stroud, that is legitimately a concern. And that Carolina Panthers defense, as you already mentioned, they've got a lot of. I mean, Brian Burns is a superstar. Derek Brown, J.C. Horn. I could go. I mean, those are obviously some damn good players.
Henderson, who they stole away from the Jaguars.
Justin Houston, but like at the same time, I, for one, am just not as high on the Panthers' offense as some. I'm not as high on Chark, Thielen, and Hayden Hurst as some.
It's not like they have an explosive offense, but that's an offense with a lot of experience that's going to help out a rookie quarterback better than other situations, in my opinion. I don't know about as far as Indianapolis, because I really like Indianapolis skill players, especially if Jonathan Taylor comes back. With Anthony Richardson, that's going to be a scary backfield they're going to have to game plan for. But I agree with you. It's not like a crazy offense. Just one with a high floor.
Yeah, and for D'Amico, and this is a good question, Herb Nash, what's it matter if the head coach is offense or defense? Doesn't that come down to the coordinator anyway? Yes, it does. But also, there's no other relationship that's closer for every team, quarterback to head coach. Like, that's important. The dynamic between the quarterback and head coach is everything. So it makes it better if your head coach is also offensive minded. Like, although I agree, Ben Johnson, of course, but Dan Campbell's offensive minded. Like,
and we saw him struggle with play calling.
Right, but Jared can go to Dan and they could talk about things, right? Like, for the Houston Texans, they brought over, the passing game coordinator of San Francisco, who's Bobby Slowick. So could he be a Mike McDaniel, type of OC? Yes, but it just matters more when you can go to your head coach and you guys can talk and he gets it. Like, Frank Reich's a former quarterback.
He is.
So that, you don't think that helps Bryce Young to go to Frank Reich and they could chop it up and he knows exactly the situations that Bryce Young is facing and he could give him it. It's just a little different. But regardless, we're going to go to break. When we get back, we'll get to what's trending with Lucas. But before we do that, I got to hear about our friends over at Planet Fitness.
Oh, yes, my favorite read of the day.
Show 'em
because
the guns,
when I got to
Flannel.
defend my takes, sometimes I got to use some intimidation tactics. And I get those guns at Planet Fitness, of course. Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you'll experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full body workout in just 30 minutes in the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month. Yes, they are still only $10 a month. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we've invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out for free. You still got about a half a month all summer long with our high school summer pass program. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there is a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness.
Talk to me, Flannel.
Where your fitness is essential.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Your childhood may be over, but certainly playtime is not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment, servicing the Great Lakes region. For more information, visit them at OutdoorEquipmentCompany.com. Outdoor Equipment Co., your power equipment playground. You know what time it is? We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. And for everybody who usually does tune into the show, you know what time it is. 9:46. We're a little late, but it's time. Check your watches. It's What's Trending with Lucas. Lucas, what do you got for us?
All righty, people. We obviously did not really like Dan Orlovsky when he was actually playing football in Detroit, but I think we can all agree the man knows ball.
Yes.
And he recently, I mean, some people might have seen this already, but he had some words for Trey Lance, specifically a minute 40 worth of words, and I want to get your guys' opinion on exactly what he had to say.
Here is attached to that tailback. Wherever that tailback goes, that linebacker has to follow. The opportunity is that throw. Well, what's the problem? This problem here is that linebacker. One guy has the tailback. That other linebacker doesn't have any responsibility. His job, read the quarterback. The quarterback's eyes will tell you where he's going to go with the football. Trey Lance does a fantastic job of realizing, okay, my opportunity is the in route. Now he's looking up top going, I'm not going through a progression, I'm handling the problem. I'm going to try to move that linebacker who's following my eyes to open up a bigger window to make that throw. He comes back, one hitch, and delivers that absolute rifle to Benjamin. Now the back angle is beautiful. Now pay attention, that's number 31. That's the guy who's the problem. Where is he located? 31 is basically on that hash, okay? He's right on that hash. He's got no responsibilities. The opportunity throw is coming from the right side of the screen on that wrapped in route. Really pay attention to where this guy is located. Trey Lance is going to catch that snap and move him. He's just going to move him just a little bit as he's staring to the left. Come on, linebacker. I know you're the problem. Let me move you over. He's going to move that linebacker and come back and throw. Now remember, he's started on the hash. He's about 2 to 3 yards now outside of that hash. Now pay attention to where the ball is thrown. The ball gets caught right there. Where? Right on that hash. That linebacker started on the hash but got moved over. If Trey Lance did not move him, that ball doesn't get completed to Travis Benjamin. That's a beautiful job of a quarterback who's very young, realizing when I get to the line of scrimmage, okay, I got an opportunity.
I love this, by the way, too. I mean, Dan Orlovsky's a legend, and I love him breaking down quarterbacks. I love him breaking down the game. The one thing I have concern about with Trey Lance is I liked him coming out of college, but my concern was the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers have a win-now roster.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
And they took a quarterback that's not a win-now quarterback. He needs time to develop. So I don't know if the interests align there.
Well, here's the thing. So Dan put that out a little while ago. And then I'm not going to play the clip just so we can get to some mailbag, but Dan then came out and said that he's done with Trey Lance after he watched him in the preseason game. he was like,
he said that?
Yeah, because if you watch Trey Lance's preseason game, statistically, it looks nice. You see a touchdown pass, decent completion percentage, but if you watch it, you are like, oh my, Trey Lance is done. And I think that's been the narrative. So just real quick, around the room, is Trey Lance done?
Done in San Francisco, yes. I think so. Again, like I said, they need somebody that, like a Brock Purdy, who can come in right away, be a game manager, and not that that's disrespect, but that he knows what Kyle Shanahan is asking of him, and he can execute that. Trey Lance, I think, needs more development, and I don't think it's the right situation in San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dunn in San Francisco as well. He might be buried on the depth chart behind Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. I mean, that's well within the realm of possibilities. So, yes, right. Dunn in San Francisco.
JB, the voice of reason?
He's done in San Francisco, but he will get a backup job somewhere else on a team that is willing to take the time to develop him a lot more than San Francisco right now. So, deuces to the Bay.
Hell yeah,
no doubt.
Well, alrighty, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll have more time for it tomorrow, but we got to get some mailbag, fellas. So
let's
run
do it
up for the people. Drop a like in the stream if you have not already for some mailbag, and drop the questions.
Let's do it. JB, tell everybody at home about our friends over at Randy Wise.
Oh, I got you. How would you like to see famous athletes like Jim Harbaugh, Darren McCarty, and Braylon Edwards play golf with average Joes? Well, thanks to Randy Wise Automotive and Woodward Sports, you will be able to do just that. It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. Make the wise choice and pay attention to Woodward Sports for more information soon.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you for sticking with us through commercial break. We got mailbag, 9 minutes of mailbag. Get your questions ready. We'll try to get to as many as we can. And we'll start here with Shad. Shad asked mailbag, does Sam's wife know about him and Mahomes?
I mean, of course. I mean, she always gives me jokes, gives me crap about my love for Mahomes, but that is okay because she likes Mahomes too. Not really for football reasons, but kind of like, hey, now, just kind of like, oh, he seems like a good guy.
She probably enjoys flannel after he watches Mahomes.
Hey,
you're probably bricked up after watching Mahomes play.
That is not a lie, Lucas. Yeah. That's not a lie.
Let's see. Lions Troll, Mail Satchel. Will the Lions have anybody in the running for Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year? I think more so would be Defensive Player of the Year because they got some guys that could break out and have big seasons. Aiden, I think, notably would be that guy, but even a C.J. Gardner-Johnson healthy for an entire year, he can also be one of those guys. I think it would more so be Defensive Player of the Year.
I would agree with that, and if you have 15 sacks, by definition, you are in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, so yes, it will be Aiden Hutchinson. Not necessarily win it, but he will be receiving some votes.
Jamcat, mailbag, will the pregame show still be happening at Brass Rail? They'll be at Eastern Market. That's where we're going to be, at least for home games. It's going to be a lot of fun. More details about that coming soon. But it's not going to be Brass Rail this year, but we'll definitely be around Detroit as well. It's going to be a lot of fun this season, no doubt. Nick Williams, mailbag, will Woodward Sports have an event for the Lions versus Chiefs? That's also something that I'm going to wait and see on, most likely. But if not, regardless, we're going to have some great things planned for the opener for the Lions. So, again, wait for more details on that. Woodward Sports, all social medias, they'll update you accordingly. John Lord, mailbag, can we please get a Broder Fear the Stash t-shirt? That
would be fire. That'd be money.
That would be money.
Get some Broder marketing out there.
Yeah, he's the right guy for that. Vincent, hell yeah. Vincent, mailbag Sam, what is a minimum square size required for flannel?
Man, are we
Has to be
getting,
one by one.
I mean, yeah,
that's
like
fair.
what I got going right here. I would say this is perfect, perfect flannel etiquette.
Datboy Roy, mailbag, who do you think will survive cuts? Survive? That's tough. I think there's going to be some guys that we like, and we've seen some things out of preseason that are going to be cut. I think a guy who could be cut but also kept on the practice squad or kind of float around is a Dylan Drummond. I think that's one of the guys that I think will find a way back on this roster, maybe like a TK85 where he's floating between the practice squad and the actual roster, depending on injuries. That would be my favorite. Maybe if you want to go with a guy like Starling Thomas, he could survive it, maybe make the practice squad, but there'll be a lot of guys, like the running back room, for example. They're deep. They're going to have to get rid of a majority of those dudes. There's about three guys or so that are fighting for that third running back spot. It's like Mo, Ozigbo, and Snell.
Benny Snell.
And it's really, and Dan talked about it, it's going to come down to who can play special teams. So we shall see with that. But your guy Mo looks like he's at a threat to be cut.
Yeah, he got hurt.
And that is even worse, to be honest with you. Here, let's see. We'll get to this one. Noah M., do you guys actually smoke that Dispo good?
Do we ever?
Do
we ever, baby? I mean, I'll speak for myself, but on the daily.
Yeah, JV with the ding, ding, ding. Let's see here. Yeah, we do indulge in some Dispo products. But how do you not? They're a big sponsor, and they take care of the boys and girls, so it's awesome. Steve G., who do you think used the old foot wedge more on their way to winning the tournament, McCarty or Rule? I would say that's a Rule move, to be honest with you. The foot wedge, that's definitely a Rule move. But McCarty and Darren and Neil, as a duo, golfing out there. I don't think anybody wants smoke with those guys.
Especially D-Mac, bro. D-Mac came back with a belt yesterday from a golf outing.
Yeah, no doubt. Those guys together they're both really good. Let's see, get to some more of these questions, and I saw one by Jesse Adams here, and I want to read his mailbag. Jeff, can you ask Sam what's worse, his take on Scott Frost last year, or Donovan Edwards saying he's like Barry Sanders in terms of changing the history of the game? Wow, that's awful. I'm going to just go ahead and say it's Donovan Edwards saying he's like Barry Sanders. That is awful. He changed the history of the game.
Flannel, well, there's a chance. I mean, behind this offensive line.
I mean, okay, obviously Donovan Edwards, that was very preemptive, I will say, but I think he's going to be a first-round draft pick next year. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's looked at as an offensive weapon, probably be an even better prospect than Jahmyr Gibbs was. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but to put yourself up there with Barry Sanders before you've even played your last game in college, that's a little, especially, did you see what Barry Sanders did in his Heisman Trophy winning season? Best season in college football history. So Donovan Edwards, I love you, man. I think you're going to be great. Slow your roll, please.
Herb Nash, can we get some Lucas game film?
Oh, they want me to break out the tapes.
Don't gas his ego up. This man will get the game.
We can do it if they want it. I can play it.
That would be. It'd be great. Peter asks, who does Sam love more, Mahomes or Hutchinson? Ooh, that's a tough one.
I got to go with Aiden Hutchinson right now because of the Michigan and Lions connection. Because despite what everybody thinks, I would like to see Aiden Hutchinson get in the backfield and sack Patrick Mahomes at least once.
James Hewitt, what's up, everybody? I'm a little late. Well, appreciate you joining, James. It's never too late. As long as you're here, we appreciate you. Detroit Kool-Aid. Shout out to Kool-Aid, man. Legend. He says, mailbag, can Sam put on the Lions helmet and sing forward down the field? Maybe on Victory Monday.
Oh, wow.
Victory Monday or Victory Friday.
It's definitely going to be on that Friday. He'd be kind of sad after the Chiefs loss.
Or Victory Tuesday.
Yeah. Here we go again.
Dante151 mailbag. If Trey Lance leaves the 49ers, could a possible home for him be the Buccaneers? I don't mind that either. Kyle Trask and Baker both blow. So Trey Lance is better than what they have currently. So I wouldn't put that past the out-of-realm possibilities, Dante. Let's see here. Jared says, mailbag, Sam, how many first-rounders are in this season Michigan team? I was told 15 would be drafted.
All right, well, God, I have to work backwards. JJ, Will Johnson, I will probably say Colston will get it sometime. Maybe Chris Jenkins.
Donovan Edwards.
Blake
Corn, possibly.
I don't think so. Junior Colson, maybe. I mean, God, I'll have to sit down and think about that a little closer. I think at least 5, not in this class, but when it's all said and done, at least 5.
Okay.
Lucian, mailbag, how many picks do you predict our defense will have total by the end of the year? I'm thinking 6 more than last year. Picks. I think we have guys that are more of a at least in that realm of like ball hawk. Like Cam Sutton's going to get his 2 to 3, like he does. Maybe even he has a bet more picks. But it's really CJ, Kirby. I think Jack from the linebacker position. He's more of a threat. Dude's got hands as well. Emmanuel Mosley, when he gets back, that guy can take the ball away. There's a lot of guys that can create turnovers in the secondary. So that's a tough question. I think the ceiling. I don't even know if I put a ceiling on these guys.
When you replace Juju Hughes with Brian Branch, there's gonna be.
I remember when you came up to me, you were like, "Dude, I just found out who Juju Hughes was."
I thought Mike Hughes and Juju Hughes were the same person, and I was like, "We had a dude on the team last year named Juju Hughes,"
and I had to say, "Yes, we did. We did indeed have a guy named Juju Hughes in the secondary, who KJ Osborne burned for a last-minute touchdown." Man, dude.
I'm getting cooked.
Yeah, man. I just need this season to start, man. I just want to get away from that memory as fast as possible. Let's see here. Mike G, as college football approaches, can Sam put on the winged helmet and do a segment with Broder and Booner?
I mean, I would be fine with that. We got it right over there. So,
oh my!
I mean, I don't want to necessarily like kick you guys off the desk, but for a segment, we could just we could talk Michigan.
Yeah, and Corey Berry, just make plays, interception, pass breakups, hitting someone over the middle. There you go, Corey. Just make plays, and they got guys in the secondary that they can do that. Real cream of wheat. Oh, geez, I remember that Vikings game. Yeah, you know what? It's bad memories.
That was probably, I know the Carolina game was painful just because of how brutal of a watch it was, but talking about like a heartbreak, the Vikings game last year was, I think, the biggest heartbreaker.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I'll tell you what, though. You know what's not a bad memory? Having the pleasure of enjoying a morning show with all of you all.
Yeah,
That's never a bad memory. I appreciate you guys. Again, for the rest of the week. Thursday, Friday, tomorrow we'll be at 5 Iron Golf for a remote show. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be down there broadcasting. And then Friday, we got Links of Novi for D-Max golf outing. Can't wait for that as well. So next 2 shows, we're on the road, boys.
We are.
We're on the road. Yeah, we're
loading up in the tour bus.
Yeah. Until then, again, we appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget, leave a like. We hit 200 likes, so for that, I say thank you. Until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, the Morning Woodward Show, Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, and Lucas Klotz. We'll see you guys tomorrow.